Welcome to today's Texas Coaches to Coaches. Yeah, today is Thursday, July 16th, and today we have Coach Shaun Flood of Fort Bend Aquatics. He's also the former assistant coach at Whittier College and LMU, and today he's going to talk about attackers and drivers. So, Shaun, I'm going to like it is all you. So go ahead.
All right. So, what's going on, guys? Hope everyone's doing well. How's everyone's safe, and for those that you can practice, fantastic. Those that you can't, I guess, use this time to watch these meetings and game plan for when you can practice. No excuse for not game planning, right, and having practice plans and all that kind of stuff. So Joe asked me to do driver attacker, and so what I'll do is I'll kind of just throw up, a simple PowerPoint slide, and then I've got some old school video clips from Wolf Weigo's days, which I think apply because I refereed for a little bit here before we got all canceled, and I didn't see enough of the old school stuff that still applies today that works. So and then I got a couple clips from 2016 that we can watch that are just some good examples. I mean, it's super high level water polo, but when you watch at its best, then you can kind of hopefully try to break it down to where, hey kids, this is what we want it to look like when you're at the top of your game. It doesn't have to look like, Tony Acevedo's skate bar down, but it's still something to try to achieve for. So excuse me for my, I just went through this. I'm a Microsoft Teams guy at my school. Go Knights. But I'm going to be screen sharing my thing, and you guys let me know if I mess it up.
And everybody, as he's screen sharing, just please, if you have questions, just click in the chat or go ahead and unmute yourself and ask away. Again, if you have questions, comments, this is a sharing kind of area right now. We just want to help each other get better. So.
Yeah, just let me know. Please interrupt me whenever. If I didn't want to write a Bible on here, so it's very much bulleted, pointed. So driver attacker. So why is it called the driver attacker? Basically, if you're looking for a referee standpoint, they're trying to attack to score to break down the defense. So you were trying to break down the defense. If you're not breaking down the defense, you're not actually driving or attacking. You're just sitting and in my thought, you're swimming. You should always have the intent to drive, to score, to receive the ball. As a coach, when I was coaching, if I was to see I'm coaching, I'm watching and scouting another team, if they were just, hey, that guy's not driving to score, he's just driving across center to clear you out. Make sure you keep your hips up as you drive across. Just stay aware, keep your heads on your shoulders. Once they get through, they're not even looking for the ball. You just hit back over and steal the ball at center. So it's one of those things where you have to drive with intent, and it needs to be serious, and you have to form, some sort of contact so that person has to engage with you. So positional breakdown, I usually break down my drivers, attackers into like 1-2 side attackers and 4 or 5 side attackers. 3 is a completely different animal in terms of center defense, and then center, again, is a completely different thing altogether. Primary roles for your 1-2 side guys is usually your right-handed attackers and shooters. Your best shooters are going to be at your 1 and 2. Probably your best shooter in the pool is usually at 2. You probably saw Tony Acevedo sit at 2 all the time. You see all the best European players, they sit at 2, especially because they don't move at all. They just sit there and draw 5-meter, or they like to shoot from the 2. Also, you want to put your most skilled and creative drivers over there in pairs and tandems, so that way they can work together. And we'll talk about that a little later. The 4 and 5 players are usually like them, kind of keying off Justin's talk from last week. Your best passers, they need to be able to, that right-handed attacker, if they don't get the ball, they're kind of useless, right? So if you guys listen to Tony Acevedo's podcast, he liked Adam Wright because Adam Wright passed him the ball. I mean, it's a simple concept. Like, who's your favorite player? Adam Wright. Why? Because he passed me the ball. So, it's kind of useless to get the ball when you're a really good shooter. You don't get the ball when you're a good shooter, you're not going to be able to score. So the 4-5 side is your best passers, your smartest players, because they can read the defense if they need to enter the ball to center, or if they're passing it to a driver, or, making sure people don't shoot when there's drivers. We'll see an example of that in the Olympics. And then your fastest players, you can, not that they have to be in the 4 or 5 side, but that helps you lead the counterattack. If you can get the ball up And like Justin was saying, when he ran the 4.2, and I was there when he ran the 4.2 with the girls, if we could get down the pool as fast as possible, get the ball to 6, or technically 6 on the 4.2, I apologize, get down to the ball to 5 on the 3.3, and you're passing towards a shooter, it's a lot easier than passing and receiving the ball from behind or the side. So like when you and I pass, we pass like this, right, to warm up. Well, if the person is in front of me and I'm receiving a pass in front, it's more natural the way we just pass and shoot. So if I can get the ball down there as fast as possible, I'll put my fast players down there to open up the offense. And then, of course, all your lefties, right? Please, God, do not put a lefty on the other side of the pool. I just cringe when I see a left-handed player on the 1-2 side. It just makes me, I'm like, why are you over there? I don't understand. You have a huge advantage. So fundamentals of driver attacker, usually you would like some quickness. Some speed. Quickness is better and it's different. I had several players on my team that, we swim a lot at Loyola Marymount University when I played. And when I be a month, I mean like 10,000 yards of practice at times. So we were all fast. That wasn't a big deal. But if we were quick, we had a player named Julian Lormont who was horrible at swimming. I mean, he didn't make a swim. I think he made one swim set in like 4 years at LMU, but he was one of the quickest guys. So he was never down on the counterattack. He was up on the counterattack. He's a big kid, but he wasn't super fast. So that quickness, the up and go, going from 0 to 100 as fast as possible is super important. Head up swimming, I don't think people actually are like head up swimming enough. If, like you are a water polo team, you should be swimming head up a lot and being able to see the field. Powerful breaststroke kicks. So for when you guys see, some older coaches whip kick, whatever you want to call it, scissor kick, anything to go from 0 to 100 as fast as possible. Johnny Hooper is a current athlete that can do that, right? So he's not a big guy. He's probably 6'1", maybe on a good day, 6 foot. And he's just got an amazing breaststroke kick, and he can just up and go, and that makes him on the counter, lets him attack as a driver, thing like that. Quick shooters, so wrist work. You just watch again. Tony Acevedo, for a long time, had one of the quicker shots. Not necessarily like pure speed, but the quickest shot. That's how I actually played well in college. I had a quick shot, so I could score from 6 on 5 at the 1. Who can't? But it helped a lot. So quick shooters and a lot of wrist action on those shooters, because you're going to be swum. The ball needs to be somewhere. You're not going to be able to usually rear up way far behind you if you beat your defender. So you need to be receiving the ball somewhere in here and shooting to score. And you don't need to have a lot of power if you're 2-3 meters away. So the basic drive. So this works at all levels, from when I was in high school to when I was playing against Filipovic on, the Serbian team when I was with Team Canada. I played with Team Canada for like a year and a half, 2 years. And we scrimmaged all the best teams in the world. And this always worked against the best players. Basically, you're just going to swim at the defender. That drops their hips. And the thing is that when you get an offensive is when you grab with the wrong arm. So, like, you see this a lot. Kids swim in, they grab the shoulder, and it's like offensive, right? I'm not saying you're grabbing their suit or anything like that. It's a swimming. So I swim up to them, they drop their hips. If I want to go to my right, I'm going to take my arm as a swimming stroke motion and just push on their hip and stroke over my arm. And it's just a swim stroke. Slip strokes, boom, boom, boom. Referee doesn't even notice that you've touched the guy. You barely touched the guy in the first place, or girl. But that works at every level. I mean, and it's the most simple, basic drive.
Hey, Shaun, can you go through that again? Just make sure, like, you swim into the defender and kind of go to your right. You push off the hip with the right hand and swim across with the left hand. Is that correct?
Yeah, correct. Yeah. So, I mean, I'm gonna, you'll see it maybe in the Wolf Wygo video. You jump at the defender, and anyone's gut reaction when someone comes at them is to do this. And so immediately they're going to drop their hips. And so that allows me to grab a hip. So usually around like the back or the hip of the suit. And so if I'm driving to my right, if I do it with my left, if I want to go right and I do it with my left hand, that's out of the water on their shoulder. So it doesn't look like I'm swimming. If I do this and then I reach down with this hand and I grab underneath and I just cross over like a normal swim stroke, it looks like I'm swimming. And it's very seamless. If kids can know how to do it right and they do it enough, it's very seamless, and it doesn't look like you're grabbing. You're not rotating on your back. You're not grabbing with the right hand and rotating on your back. You're continuing to swim freestyle. And so you can swim over, and it just works. I mean, it's silly as it sounds, but I coach it to everyone, and at first they're like, that won't work, and then they start doing it and they're like, wow, that works against everybody. I'm like, yes, it's very common. It's once your hips are down as a defender, there's no way for you to recover. You can't swim and catch up to that. So right arm grab right. Go ahead.
And I just add a couple things. One is just, if you had a quick little head fake there at the beginning, and that left arm stroke across the face. So if you're going right, you give a head fake, you had a left, and then you give that left arm stroke across the face. That is also going to push that defender backwards and more on their and more on top of their hips and such as well. So
for sure. I mean, it's and anyone that doesn't, for some odd reason, email Wolf. He's got the video from 1992, and we'll see it a little bit. But it's got all the goofy little quick head bob stuff and stuff that you think is funny, but it actually works. So old school stuff, which us as coaches probably do. So you have your normal V release, which I don't see kids do that much, and we'll watch it in the Wolf Weigel video. Is you're just swimming in and you're making a V pattern. You're just swimming in. You kind of use your legs a little bit and you V out. We'll see it in the video. It's huge for releasing. As a driver, you have to get the ball around the perimeter. So I'm going to V in. I'm going to grab the ball. I'm going to egg beater, breaststroke kick backwards so I can pass the ball into center, or I can pass it to the next person. And you can V release to your right, to your left. Hopefully you're using both hands, and because on the perimeter, you're not throwing the ball very far. So if you're, on a 4-5 side and you can't catch cross face, because there's a guy all over you, just V-release, you get the ball with your left hand, skull backwards, pass to the next guy to grab it down to the wing or down to 5. So I call it the snake drive. I don't know. I learned this, when I was playing with guys like Felix. So back in the day, I don't know what we used to call it. I'd call this because it was like a snake. So you're just driving in and you're bearing into your defender. So if I'm up top at the 2, I'm going to push my defender hopefully to the post or inside the post. And then I'm not going to reach my leg up and kick up with my shin, which some kids do, but I'm going to push in with my hip. And then I'm just kind of continue that motion. It's really hard to demonstrate on video. You continue that motion with your hip. The hip goes to your thigh goes to your knee, and then your leg, and then you just cut off at a 90-degree angle. That's another drive besides the initial regular drive that just gets you separation. It worked a lot when you had fouls at center, right? So hopefully they bring back more fouls at center. But if you had a foul at center, you could do a nice quick drive, do the grab move. If the grab dude didn't work, he's on your hip or she's on your hip. I would snake out, get the ball. You're kind of shooting a little bit on your side, but if you're 4 or 5 meters away, it's not a big deal. And then protecting the ball is a huge deal for drivers and attackers. I can't stand it when I watch a team and I'm like, you guys can't protect the ball. We can't run offense. So there's no reason for us to run offense if we can't just move the ball down the pool and protect the ball. So the thing I teach kids is key is, and they get this soon enough, is the problem when they're not protecting the ball is when they bring the ball in the front or they bring the ball in the back. And then the defender can jump around and do a backside steal, or they can go underneath the arm and kind of flick the ball up. The key is what I tell kids is to keep the ball aligned with your head. So if my arm's straightened out, I'm trying to be as big as possible. I'm not 6'8", but I have a long wingspan. If I keep my arm in line with my head and the defender is on this shoulder, they have to go through my head to get to the ball, which is usually a foul, I would hope. So as long as I'm keeping the ball in my head, they have to attack my head to get to the ball. So if I bring it in here, they can go underneath, they can kind of come over top. If I go too far back, they can go back. So when you're drawing a foul, protecting the ball at the perimeter, your arm should be slightly bent. Ball is all the way out in line with my head, and I'm moving in sync with my shoulders to make myself as tall as possible. Just some very basic stuff that makes a huge difference in just, keeping the ball in your possession and no turnovers. Let's see. So This stuff's a little more advanced. So some core movements for like a good driver with the ball in hand. So ball in hand means they're holding the ball. Okay. So like Justin said, I've stolen so many things from the coaches that I've had, and I think everyone should be stealing from everyone. And I don't even consider it stealing. It's just gaining knowledge that you get from all the coaches. The more coaches you have in your life, the better, because some coaches are going to give you some stuff that you like, they enjoy. Some coaches are going to give you stuff that you learn that I don't like that. I'm not going to do that as a coach if I become a coach, but I do like A, B, and C. So upslides, normal upslides that everyone's used to. I just, I learned through the US American system, your breaststroke kick up, breaststroke kick forward, and you're attacking. So I would call that, a front court upslide because the defender is in front of me. So I'm attacking the front court. The other type of front court slide that some kids naturally do when they do upslides, which is good and bad because then they're bad at regular front court upslides, is the counter upslide. So the difference I put to kids is on a counter upslide, your defender is behind you. So I can't put the ball behind me. I have to put the ball in front of my head. So on a counter upslide, my other arm is a bouncer and the ball and the hands stay together. So as I'm laid out horizontally, okay, and if the kids can't grip the ball, they should be able to invert their hand and put it underneath. And I'm upsliding and stroking this way, and the ball never comes in front behind my head. So if I'm on the counterattack, I catch the ball at my head because I'm in a horizontal position, catch the ball, I can breaststroke kick, defender's still on my back, and I can do a finishing move with the ball in front of my head, and the defender has no chance of getting it. I learned that in Canada. We did a ton of, counter upslides, and I think it's huge and something that I've gleaned from Johnny Hooper. And the reason everyone's like, why can that dude upslide 10 meters? It's ridiculous to watch the kid upslide, is I found out from a friend who is part of the coaching and they watched him once, is so if you do this in practice, it'll help dramatically. So Johnny Hooper, he does a breaststroke kick and then a dolphin kick or a butterfly kick. So as he's doing his upslide, it's breaststroke kick, dolphin kick, and it carries you an extra, like, if you get good at it, another meter. So that's huge. I've done it myself in the pool, and it doesn't negate you from like not being able to get back under your hips, because as you do breaststroke, your feet end up here. So I'm doing breaststroke, and then I'm just dolphining. And it makes a huge difference to cover water, and I think that's why he covers so much water. And you do a couple of those in a row, and you're covering 6 meters in 2 kicks, which is insane. So that's something that I took from. I was doing it naturally as I went laterally. So as I would go laterally to my right or to my left, I was naturally doing a breaststroke kick with the dolphin, but the dolphin was just to drop my hips underneath me. Some kids do that when they go backwards. So if I breaststroke kick backwards and I dolphin kick, it helps me drop my hips. So that's a big deal. So different shots, varying shots that are preferable. Like I said, when you take a shot with the counter upside, you don't want to bring the ball behind your head. There's someone behind you, in front of your head or at your head. Okay, you're finishing across the cage, mostly a wrist flick, or you're rotating your shoulders. Maybe the defender's behind you and you're slamming the ball down. Regular upslides, you can just shoot any way you normally would shoot. Catching, so before the ball gets there, right, when you're catching. So these core movements are positioning your hips to rotate over the hips to then catch the ball and go into an attack. So, you'll see the only great example, if you guys want to look online, is there's a guy that played for Spain and then he played for Croatia. He's left-handed. I forget what his name is. I don't know if he still plays. I think he still plays, but he used to lie on his side. So if these are his legs, and he's left-handed. And so before he caught the ball, he was hipping over. And so he would be up on his legs as the ball came up, and he had hipped over to his left, and he was up above everybody. And that was just one simple movement. He didn't have to egg beater up. He just put his legs over. As the ball came, he came up to his legs, so he was up over top of everybody and able to shoot near side, because the defender wasn't there, and internationally the goalies don't guard near side. They just yell at the field blocker and splash them and go, how did you not get my near side? So you can do it both directions. As a righty, you're going to want to put your hip up and come to the ball this way over your hips. Okay, and you can angle your legs any way you want to kind of do that. you know, if you want to, I'll use this example for an entry pass. So if I'm the one player and I know I need to make an entry pass to an inside center. Okay, so center's got inside water. He's about 4 meters. I'm about 3.5, 4 meters. As I'm about to receive the ball up top, I'm putting my legs to the left. And as the ball comes, I'm hipping over so that the defender can't cover me, and I can come inside and make an inside pass really quickly. So just moving those hip motions, they're big like core movements for drivers and ball handlers on the perimeter. It's a lot of stuff. Please interrupt me if anything's confusing.
And I can't stress enough.
Elaborate.
And I can't stress enough that I agree with Shaun here. Just the effort you give before you get the ball is going to make a tremendous amount of difference of kind of whether or not it's going to be a successful shot. So it's just how is your body positioned, and just kind of before you catch it is going to make it's the work you do before you get the ball that's going to make the difference.
Yeah. Okay. So I was going to go into video, and then I'm going to get into a practice. So let's see here. All right, let's watch some Wolf Flago. Everyone ready for some old school Wolf Flago? Okay, so this is just like, again, the typical release that, you know, we did in the old school stuff, but it's just something good to see. And, you know, he's a good player, so thanks for watching.
The release starts with a quick driving motion towards the goal, and then a quick V back to catch the pass. From above angle, you can see that this is a V back move. Being able to catch and pass the ball left and right-handed is critical. The driver fakes the drive towards the goal and then V's back.
You guys can see him really using his kick. He's swimming forwards at one side, really kicking back with that breaststroke scissor kick to separate from the defender. You know, he doesn't really need to push off him. You know, it's not like this guy is bad at defense. This is Brad Schumacher, one of the fastest guys we've ever had on the Olympic team. So he's not like a slow guy. And it's not just for the video. They were told to go all out and try to make sure the demo works.
Releases come not only from the 2-meter position, but from perimeter players. Again, left-handed, right-handed. To be effective, you have to make the defender believe that you're going to drive towards the goal. Then cut back to get the pass.
Okay. And then we've got, let's see, 11. I think he's just controlling the ball really well. Yeah, there we go. So protecting the ball, I don't know what I was talking about. Keeping it
Protecting the ball on the perimeter is critical. You need to keep the ball at arm's length away and your body between the ball and the defender.
So what they're not talking about there, if you guys kind of see that a little bit. So Wolf is, when he's drawing the foul, he's grabbing that guy's arm. So if you guys see that, he's grabbing his arm, so he can't really jump around. So if I'm on offense, he's getting under that arm and he's pulling it down as he can rotate. So it's like a kind of a turn move, but he's not really turning him. He's doing it to draw the foul. It's just to also keep control of that guy, so that guy can't jump around his back or anything like that.
To draw the foul, you need to make quick motions, but always keep the ball away from the defender. Another technique is the...
Okay, that's just him backpedaling. And then driving in general, let's see. Okay. The art of driving is
quick reactions and quick movements are what makes drives effective. In a reverse angle, Wolf takes advantage of the defender looking away and takes off. Defender looks away.
So
Wolf.
it's really, let's see. So you could, he doesn't grab Brad's body, but he definitely uses his left hand to grab at the elbow. So Brad's not paying attention, giving him his elbow. He grabs the elbow, a little more obvious, but you can also see like Wolf's driving with an intensity. He's not really just swimming. Obviously Wolf wants to shoot, so he wants to get the ball.
Defender looks away, Wolf breaks. Wolf fakes right, goes left.
Joe was talking about, right? So you you go one way and then go back the other way to kind of sell it some more.
fakes left, goes right. What do you do when the defender holds you? Lift the defender's arms up out of the water to show the referee.
So there's kind of, if you watch it a little bit, he's putting the hand under the hip. I think they showed underwater. So he's showing, and then as he shows, he grabs here to go.
What do you do when the defender holds you? Lift the defender's arms up out of the water to show the referee. When he takes his hands off, if you don't get the call, take off. The crossover drive can also be effective.
One of the things you'll see, Wolf, here is a lot of kids in high school, everywhere, is they love to roll onto their back. And even in the video way back in 1992, they advise not to roll onto your back. I mean, it's just hard to shoot and score. It's best just to stay on your stomach, keep your head on a swivel, find the ball, be able to drop your hips.
The wolf is not swimming over the back of the defender. Underwater, you'll see that the defender's hips drop and wolf crosses over behind him.
So those are
Stop
just
and
some
go.
older examples that where I learned a lot of my stuff. It was on VHS. This was filmed in Fort Lauderdale's pool. I used to have them in VHS, and I used to watch them all the time. So that's where I learned. That was my, quality video back then. The next thing I wanted to show is a little bit of some of our current team members, kids, and not all of them, but some of them, and some of the stuff from the Olympics and some examples. Most of it's kind of shooting just because they don't drive internationally, but it's still applicable to what we can see. So let's see here. So Croatia just scored. That's the guy, actually. Is that Martin? No, that's joking. So if you guys look down here, there'll be a drive. He kind of gets away with pulling on the wrong side, which isn't too good. I saw that, but it's still super intense, draws an exclusion or ejection. And then they set up 6-on-5 right after that. And it's a good example. Brett Bonani scoring on your side on 6-on-5. Unfortunately, Brett doesn't play anymore, but it's a good example. So as a 3 drive, as a clear out, wasn't super intense, but it doesn't matter. So if you look right here, boom, guy yanks him back. It's because he got inside water. Halleck gets shot. So Bonani's going to wrap up to the 1, and he's going to table fakes and then go over his head, which he was kind of known for in college, if anyone had to play Stanford. But that's just a good shot from that quick shot that he takes. Let's see, 13, we did that. Okay, so I'm going to show, so there's always mistakes even at the highest level. So after this, there's I have another minute. So there's a bad timing on the drive. So you'll look down here. He goes to drive when I think Luca or someone's shooting. So, even the highest level guys are making these mistakes. It's not just your high school kids or your college kids. I mean, he goes to shoot. He's screwed, right? So he's way down now. I think I don't know if Samuel shot or he was the driver, but he definitely, whoever, that was just bad timing. Again, if he's driving with his head up, maybe he can see what's happening, maybe not. Just something to point out. So again, I was talking about that there's a really good pass. You're a passer, so you need to pass, especially at this level, to the big boys in the middle, draw exclusions. And so here's just a great pass to center, coming Croatia's possession. So I need to get the ball the other side. Referee being nice, you can go out of the pool. Ben's holding 1-2 side. Woo! There we go. So he's getting up, acting like he's going to shoot. I think that's Luka. Capito gets up, and then he goes under the defender's arm for a nice entry pass. Being crafty that way and finding that entry pass. But then we have an example of Luka taking a really bad shot from like 5. I think this is it. So biggest mistake, right? He's going to put the ball in the water. He's going to pick it up. He's going to fire the ball near side low, right? How many high school kids or club kids, jam it near side low? Well, if they watch these guys, that's probably what they think they're going to do. So Luka drops it, and he's like, woo, oh, blocked by the goalie. That's not going to fly at that level. It shouldn't fly at any level. I mean, and I think I got a good shot of Bowen making kind of the same exact thing, but off a pass high that can go in. Let's see. Okay. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So was that a look away near side low shot?
Yeah, I think it was a look away off the water on 6-on-5. And it's like, this is one of our best players. I mean, Luke is awesome. He's a great player. But, he's young too at this point. It's 2016.
It's the same stuff at every level probably. So
yeah. It's they all make the same mistakes. It's just at a crazy amount of size and speed, right? Okay, where is it? 31. Okay. All right, so here's like a similar 6-on-5. Bowen is here at 5 where he's typical playing. So it's a great example of you're trying to watch, how do I teach my righties to play the 4-5 side? Find as much Bowen film as you can. The dude plays it in Europe, and he just has a great way of finding angles as a righty from the 4. He has, you need to shoot the ball over your head and wrap the ball back around if you're a righty a lot. He just does a really good job of it, and he did it at Stanford because he had, Bonani and Churnside, and then, he had to play the 4-5 side. So there's a great pass, and then you think it comes back. Yeah, here we go. Good fake, boom, much better, right? So locks the defense at the 6, gets a great pass, nice and high. The field blocker's out of position, the goalie's out of position. I think they showed again after John Mann draws the exclusion. Yeah, there we go. Oop, much better. Also, the goalie is really good from Croatia, but he's used to Bowen not shooting it that way. But he again, so it's hard for kids to realize this. So if you look at his arm position, his hand's already out of the water. He's ready for the ball. Like there's no I'm going to skull up, and it's like he's here, ready. So when you tell your kids, get your hand out of the water, catch the ball and shoot it, so you can receive the ball. Bowen at the Olympics is got his hand out of the water, ready to, he's telling his teammate, give me the ball right here. So the teammate has a target, they can pass it to him, and he's able to catch and shoot with, super fast, super long windup. Okay.
And it's also amazing kind of what you can do whenever you're actually looking at the goal. But it was also nice there whenever 4 to skip 5 to 6 to make sure that that pass came from a strong side to be able to catch and shoot a lot quicker.
I can't stand the 1 to 5 pass. I don't know how many times that pass has been intercepted. 1 to 5 is like my Achilles heel, unless it's a lefty, right? So if 5 is a lefty and you throw it there, that's fine. The angle of the pass is different. But if you're 1 and you have to go cross face, that angle from 1 to 5 has to go in a different arc, and then that X5 player can steal it. And I got 2 more. Just a great pass to center, I think from Bowen again, because he scored. He felt really, really good. I actually have to go back. I think the reason, and this is things that if I'm a coach, just some coaching stuff, and, my kids, when they make positive plays, are going to play better. So like Bowen, he technically made this shot after he made a great entry pass, which was successful. So he makes a great entry pass. He's feeling good now. And as a player, I make the same thing, right? I'm making positive stuff as I play. And as I'm doing it, I'm feeling better. It allows me to score. Makes me feel better. So, okay, there it is. Yeah, 30-50. Okay. Oh, no, maybe not. This is the same. Oh, okay. Maybe we get the ball back. Oh, we do. Okay. So this is how John Mann actually draws that exclusion from Bowen. So.
Yeah, again, if you have questions, just please feel free to use the chat or go ahead and just go in and ask away.
Yeah, good fake, whoop, drops it in, boom, easy exclusion. Yeah, he just fake over my head, entry pass, right to center, and that's what led them to that exclusion and the goal. And then I thought I'd finish off on a nostalgic Tony Acevedo quick shot, which we all like seeing because it's all fun to tell kids like you can shoot off the pass, kids. You don't have to fake. You know, you can actually shoot off a pass. It's like I don't know. It's lost its nostalgia or something. I'm not really sure what it is, but kids just don't want to shoot off the pass anymore, and it's some of the best shooting you can do if you're in a correct position. Okay. So they draw ejection. I think Tony scores from 1, which is pretty common, but. And it's a crazy shot. It's really nice, but he's Tony Acevedo, right? So, I mean, he's practiced a little bit. Boom. You know, great pass, great lock from Luka at 4. Does a good job locking the goalie, brings the ball forward to make the pass, and then kind of wrist flicks it over to Tony. Tony, you know, shoots a great shot. It's obviously like a skip bar down, but he's shooting the quick, and the defender's not there. So. Okay, so just some examples of some good drivery, shootery stuff, and then I'll get back to like what technically a practice would be. So for me, if I was in a scenario where we were having practice, I just wrote like it's a 2-hour practice. We could have maybe 3 days a week. Some of you have 2 days a week. Say we have 3 days a week, and it's on a Monday. So it might be a typical Monday practice for us. During a part of the year where we're not running on plays, it's all, I mean, for us as a club, we don't really do any plays until you get older anyway. It's all fundamentals. Really care if we win or lose until we're like 18. So so conditioning for us would be, you know, say this is at like, I don't know, 14 to 16 level, obviously less with little kids. No more than 2,500 yards, you know, the 2,500 yards is been in study after study. That's how much you swim in a game. So there's never a reason people say overtraining. It's like, well, you could overtrain your athletes, but then they're just going to be tired and the rest of your practice is going to stink. The 500 warm up to get them ready, and then about 1,000 aerobic because it's on a Monday. I do most of the swimming on a Monday, and then the rest of the 2 practices, if they're intense enough, I don't need to swim. I just need to be able to counter and do our drills hard and stuff like that, do all water polo stuff. When you're doing the aerobic, I wouldn't want the sets to be last longer than 8 minutes because you don't play more than 8 minutes in a row. So why would you swim for longer than 8 minutes in a row? Very specific to water polo. Some examples, you know, if you do 5 100s, 2 sets of 5 100s on like 120 or so, 130, that's a good kind of regular aerobic base. And then you've got an interesting thing that they do in sprinting for like track and field. So an example would be try to get to 500 yards. You're not going to, a lot of kids aren't going to get there, but trying to get to 500 yards, you do 20, 25s, and you individually as an athlete are holding a certain time. So we're doing 25, you can do it from a push, it doesn't really matter. You can do it from depending on what you're working on. It's like, hey, Timmy, I need you to hold 13s or 15s, okay? The moment that kid drops off the 15 and gets a 16 or 17, they're done because their nervous system is shot and they can't hold it. So it's just like degrading their conditioning. It's, you know, I don't want to practice slow. So the moment, you know, if it gets to 20, fantastic. If it gets to 15, okay, whatever, go hit your 500 warm down. That could take 34 minutes depending, and then we go from there. And then, so leg warm up, 100 breaststroke kick, hands out or head out with your hands behind your back, just kind of working on a position where you're kind of arched your body, breaststroke kick, kind of faster breaststroke kicks, 100 breaststroke kick with your head out. some horizontal leg beater, 2 laps, just to warm up the hips and knees, and then vertical, 1 forward, 1 backwards, just to warm up the legs. People forget to warm up the legs. Egg beater, man. Like, as a person that doesn't get to get in the water as much as possible, and do egg beater, it hurts, when you can't do egg beater every day. So skills with the ball. I try to put the ball in my kids' hands as much as possible, just at all points, so that they're familiar with the ball. And I highly recommend getting as many different size balls as you can. 2s, 3s, 4s, 5s. I say this, the Hungarians started doing these small balls a long time ago, and you wonder why, Danish Varga can hezzy the ball after he brings it 4 feet in front of his face, is because he's been able to make that movement with the ball since he was 6, because the ball was small enough for him to make the movement pattern. So the movement pattern in his body since he was 6, his hand just got bigger and bigger and bigger. So training the movement pattern is way more essential than just being able to grab the ball. So, if you've got, use size 2 balls, use size 3 balls, go from there. So 4 laps swimming with the ball in hand, breaststroke kick. The ball doesn't go down beneath. The ball's just coming in front of my head again. So I'm swimming with the ball so I can get up and pass. Okay, left hand, right hand, 2 each. 2 laps of that counter upslide. So you do 3 of those upslides in a row and you take a break. And you do 3 in a row with the breaststroke dolphin. 2 laps of that. And then 2 laps of so it's a series. I do it as a series. And then you do 2 laps of the counter upslide, where you do maybe 2 of them, and then you do a ball slam in front of your face. So you're finishing, and you can have the kids rotate and finish on their side, or you can have them finish on their just front and skull to the right or the left and finish and slide. Then you do 2 laps of just a regular front court upslide, getting used to that, attacking the defense. And then I like to do it like Justin said, if you want to attack. So you do, the next 2 laps would be upslide, attack the defense, they jump at the ball, reverse turn. Okay, so upslide, they jump at the ball, reverse turn, going through that motion a bunch. And you can do both the through, I don't know how to call it a difference. There's the reverse turn where you go all the way around, and there's the reverse turn where you kind of just pull the ball through over your head, depending on your spacing. And then you have, from there, the series goes 2 upslide, you go upslide, reverse turn, okay? And then you go into a counter slide because now the guy's on your back, and then you do a ball slam. You do two laps of that. And so I did this with a long time ago with this series with Foothill Water Polo Club, 16 under C or B team or something. And the kids were really good at ball handling, and they were, as a B or C team, kind of manhandling kids one-on-one, which was awesome to see. Then passing. So I started doing this my last couple years at LMU as the assistant coach. I was like, why are we passing in straight lines unless we're working on technical passing? If we weren't working on technical passing, where we needed to work on our passing technique itself, where we had to get body motion and hip rotation and all this stuff, hopefully my guys at the college level already knew how to pass. We would pass in the front court positions because that's how we are going to pass in the game. So I would we have 6 guys at a cage, and then we would pass in groups of 3. So you can change those series up to 2-3 minutes in a series. So example, you'd be like, all right, you guys are passing with 1, 3, and 5, and then the other 2 guys are doing 2, 4, and center. So 2 and 4 pass, entry pass, he kicks it out. So the centers get used to passing out, and everyone gets to pass in a position that they can pass in. So that way it's not just passing forwards. I have to pass to my side. I have to face the cage, stuff like that. Shooting, just warm up shooting, pick up and shoot it to warm up your arm. Then we would do get enough shots in to warm up your arm. And then we're going to add a fake, and then you add a blocker. So you always want to try to add a blocker as fast as possible because, again, how many times your kid's going to shoot without a blocker? I mean, you need a blocker in front of you. Anytime during the warm-up, I would say if you want to pass, get a pass from your teammate, but there's no pass required, and they're kind of like our shooting warm-up. But always warm-up is warm-up shooting to get the arm ready, faking to get the fake and the arm ready for handle fake, and then adding a block because that puts extra strain on the arm if you're not using your body and going around. Okay, you got to warm that up. You can't just go into, all right, we're going to go into 6-on-5, and then you try to go over your head, or you try to wrap the shooter and your elbow's like, ow, I didn't warm that up. That wasn't very good. Station drills. Okay, so like that would be done. We'd probably have about, I don't know, 30-ish minutes left. So we would do 3 10-minute stations to finish off the practice. And if you can, we were really fortunate at Whittier and LMU as we tried to get as many cages as we could. And, I stole this from Jovan's DVDs that he sold. He had 4 kids to a cage, and you wonder why his kids got good, right? So, they had like 10 cages, and, they had like 8 goalies. We didn't have that many, but you could throw up a sniper, or you can do something, put it in there. So, if you can get 4 kids to a cage, that's amazing. If you can break it up that way. The 16s, so everyone's doing these drills in the younger age groups, but as soon as you get to 16s, I would say, like when the kids are like 16, not when they're like 15, but like when they're 16 or so, drivers are going to do driver drills at this point. Centers are going to do center drills with the defenders. It's going to be a specific type stuff on days where we do positional work. First, as an idea, so you would V release for the ball, like Mr. Wygo. You'd give the ball back, and then you would do a drive, however you'd like to do that drive move. The snake drive, we would do it specifically to kind of lead off, and then get the ball back to score, to shoot. Hopefully shooting at like 3 to 4 meters, maybe 2.5, not too close. No defense at first, just get the body used to the motion, and then you'd add a defender. And so, you could have a pair going and then a pair passing. And hopefully if you have 4 kids, that pair is being pressed in a perfect scenario, because that way they have to pressure pass at the same time as they're pressure passing to a driver, just like they would in a game. Or they could work to draw a foul and then pass. The next drill we would do is just a 1v1 drive, me versus you, already on defense. I'm hopefully getting inside water on you. So I'm swimming in, I get my pull grab, I'm inside water. My general rule is anything inside 5 meters, unless you're a center, needs to be caught dry. I don't like putting the ball in the water unless, because there's waves and chaos and goalies, unless you're a center. Put the ball wet, obviously, the center. But if you're inside 5 meters, the ball has to be caught dry. So hopefully you're making that drive. You're catching the ball at or front of your head, you're counter up sliding in, and you're finishing. And then we would get into, those are kind of just individual skill drills, and then you'd finish it off with working in the 1-2 side on a drive with a pair and a 4-5 side. And so we would also do, so for the V release and the 1 drive, it's pretty much from anywhere in the pool. And the kids that have to catch cross face as a righty, it's going to be a lot more difficult to do the 1v1 drive, but you get good at sculling, looking, and finding and catching the ball cross face. And, we have technically, when we do counter drill encounters, we do it laps of that kind of stuff. But the 4-5 side offense, usually I start with a 2 or a 4 drive. And then the 1 defender has to either separate out and try to get a pass if the 2 didn't get the ball, or they use that 2 drive automatically. 2 is just driving. 1 has to do a job of setting their own pick, using that drive, using his teammates' legs to take the defender out, gets the ball, he can wrap, and he can shoot it. And then I would finish, we do half of it would be a 2 drive, the other half would be like a 12 pick. So 1 comes up, sets some sort of back pick to the side, and then, we'd have to go over back picks if the kid hadn't gone over back picks yet. It doesn't even have to be a pick, it could be swimming, and the kid, again, just swims over his teammates' legs. And, yeah, and then we would kind of hopefully be done in 2 hours. If we don't get it in, whatever, we can get it in the next day. But that's like a typical, not really prepping for anything practice that you can kind of do with most age groups that you've worked with for a while. So that's kind of, I think that's it. No, wait. So the best offense that I had that promoted driving, not the best example as you can see, but I call it like a flat 3-3. So instead of an umbrella pattern, we would flatten the 3-3, and depending on if we had lefties, you would shift this to the other side. But we ran this at LMU my sophomore year and we had one of the best lefties we ever had, an Andrew Rexkeesh, and he didn't like to drive anyway, so we didn't really make him a driver. He was a shooter. But so on the 1-2 side, we had a lot more space. So the goal is technically a goal. So G is one post, L is another post. And so center is facing the 4-5 side if they're a righty, so that if they get the ball, it's just a quarter turn to an exclusion. And he can go inside water pretty easily. If, he's facing the 1-2 side and somehow we get the ball and we enter in the ball, he has a lot of space to lay out if he needs to lay out or do a reverse turn. 3, everything is shifted a little bit to the right. So that gives a lot more. If you have like really creative 2-player and 1-player and your offense is geared really towards like, hey, we need to get these guys the ball, you need to give them space. So I shift everyone over a little bit. 5 kind of gets ignored a little bit, but that's okay. He's a passer. And 6 is really driving deep to the goal line to try to get the ball to maybe that deep 2 drive or that 1 player over top the cross, the pass over the top. And then, like I said, you would shift it in the opposite direction to say you had like a crazy lefty that needs to drive. So you'd kind of just shift the center over to the 1-2 side. They could kind of work that way, and 3 would slide over. But that offense kind of works if you've got really good 1-2 tied attackers. Not that I was an amazing attacker, but we had just an offense that lended itself to that. When I was at LMU, we just had, some big fast guys that we could use on that side of the pool. And then we had our center and our lefty that could kind of distract. And also when you do that, now the 1-2 side can't really help at center. So they can't help guard center because then you would be open on the 1-2 side. So then again, you can do that in the reverse on the 4-5 side. You can spread it out on that side. But I think that is, that's everything. So that's all I got.
So I just have a question. Earlier on, you mentioned, like you said, okay, like just drive from the 1-2 or the 4-5, and you briefly mentioned you probably don't want to drive from 3. Can you explain why you don't want to drive from the 3?
So typically,
and also maybe explain a situation when you might want to. So
yeah, so I mean, I can drive from 3 if I want to clear out, and I definitely want to drive from 3 if I'm on a backline counterattack and I'm up. So if I'm up and I don't receive the ball from the goalie, like, I don't know if many people remember this, but JJ at Stanford was a guy I had to play against, and he was an amazing center defender. He'd be up in the back line every time. He would counter, and he'd get the ball from the goalie and score from the 3 position. But if you don't get that and you're up on the counterattack and you stop, that center doesn't have to swim as far. So if I'm up on the counter, I'm at 3, I need to continue driving through, and we'll wrap and hopefully be in a 6-on-5 position where the ball gets down to 6. And now that center defender is hopefully on the 2 posts because they got really good legs, and the center can slide over, and you're in like a random 6-on-5 position. Also, sometimes it's a clear out. They're running some sort of M, and you want to maybe do a 3 drive from an M. I break an M with a 1 across 2 down, or a 5 across 4. A 5 across 4 down, but sometimes you want to break an M. Sometimes you want to throw 3 in there and post up. We've broken an M before with a 3 post up. So you drive in, post that guy up, and spreads out the M. But typically in high school, you don't have many people that can play really good center defense. So I would never want my 3 guy to drive in high school unless it was ultimately necessary, because he's like, dude, you're the only one that can stop that big dude. And if you go, like, little Johnny's on him, who's 50 pounds and is going to get wheeled. So let's make sure that you're back on defense, and let the drivers work on either side. It's different at all levels. I mean, the 3-player is very, very versatile, but usually they're usually big guys, right? Like, so they're not going to be your fastest, quickest guys in the pool. That was kind of answered the question.
For me, I like my center defender is actually a pretty good shooter, and a lot of times the centers are very poor defenders on drives. Right. And so I really started working and doing like 31 drives so that, especially for the girls, like to take that center who doesn't want to swim
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know, and then you make them go down to the 1, and now they got to swim from 2 to 2, and
Sure.
they don't like that.
Yeah,
And
no, they
sometimes
don't.
they just give up, and so
Yeah.
or they won't put any effort on the drive defense, and they just try to hand them off, and then creating a 2-on-1
Right.
on the other side. So
For
just
sure.
some thoughts, like depend, I guess that if your opponent and your individual skills that you have on your team, so just a thought.
No, yeah, yeah. I mean, again, if you're up and you're on the counter and your game plan is like, big boy or big girl doesn't like to swim, we're going to take her to, the objective is to take them 2 to 2. And your center defender is usually way better conditioned than the center. Go ahead, bring them down to 2, and we'll wrap up, and hopefully we'll wrap up on the opposite side of where, like the only thing I'll say is make sure you're driving to the opposite side of where your center is facing, because that just makes it easier for them to drop into center. So if your center's facing 4-5, take that 3 guy to the 1-2 side, and vice versa. So that doesn't kind of crowd the middle, so you can get an entry pass early in the clock or something like that, and they can't hip over and steal the ball, because then it crowds that side with the center. But yeah, I mean, there's nothing wrong with the 3 drive. I just typically don't like to see it if we're dealing with someone that has a strong center, because it's like, you can't, I mean, I'm thinking at the pretty basic level in terms of, because there's multiple guys that can guard center high levels, right? So it's not like, and anyway, at high enough levels, it's just an exclusion anyway. It's just like, it doesn't matter if I can play defense in the Olympics. It's like, woohoo, I'm going to smash you, and then I'm going to go to the box. So sometimes it's like that in college, sometimes it's not. Anyone else? Questions?
I do have one last question here. I mean, there are certain times to drive and certain times not to drive. So whenever you teach your kids, how do you teach them kind of the best time to drive, like timing, etc.? So
in terms of like the clock,
in general, just in general.
Yeah, I mean, unless we have some sort of isolation where we're trying to isolate and like, hey, clock's winding down, we're going to isolate these 2 kids, everyone's going back to defense, and like you can get a drive in and you're not worried about that kid getting countered. I would definitely make like a lot of goalies, and some people use the term red, right? Like I hear people doing red, which is like under 10 seconds, which is probably you shouldn't be driving with under 10 seconds left unless you're for sure going to get the ball. And that's a thing that you guys do as a team, like 8 to 10 seconds left in the clock. Probably shouldn't be driving, should be controlling the offense. Early drives are always better. I love early drives because that breaks down the defense the most. Like if you can finish everyone in at 2 meters, in a perfect scenario, everyone's finished at 2 meters, and then we're wrapping around back into our offense, and then initially making another drive right away, that defense is going to have to really kick in every time. It's like, oh, I already went down 2 meters. I have to wrap back up, and then I'm back down. And so you've got like 2 cycles done where hopefully you've entered the ball or you have a good look at, from someone who dropped off, and 3 will probably be open because the drive will happen. And you could, like Chris said, get a nice shot from up top. And then, yeah, it's just the timing at 8 to 10 seconds. I wouldn't want to drive with 8 to 10 seconds left unless it's part of our game plan where we go, hey, Johnny over here, end the clock, you 2 work on something and we'll just cover. And that way we'll see if we can get like a tip out late or something like that.
Are there any more questions for Shaun? Well, Shaun, thank you so much. I do appreciate it. Next week, we're going to have Ty Halford just talking about kind of running a successful high school water polo program. Thank you so much. And this will be posted at the txwaterpolo.com website as soon as possible. And until next week, everybody take care.
All right. Thanks, guys.